been on break. It's been Christmas time. We're well rested, and we just thought we'd just kick things off with the great man sitting in front of me. A big thank you to all of our supporters, our sponsors, Whippersnapper Whiskey, Margaret River Roasting Co., Blue Bet, Shelter Brewing Co., Leadable Cameras, Backchat Podcast. You can find it all over at our website, backchatpodcast.com.au. The big bison sits in front of us.
Bice.
Gentlemen.
Hello, Mitch.
It's a pleasure.
How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Very well.
The bison, where's that come from? Where's that stuff from?
Yeah, it's actually it's a good little story.
Actually, stop.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
We just talked about
I can't do it. I can't do it. The first question we always ask
Get back to the bison.
Okay.
our guests every time. It's the same question every time. I'm sure you're a big fan of the Backchat podcast, so I know you'll know what this is. We want to know your greatest sporting achievement. Now, you've been involved in Ashes series. You've won World Cups. You've captained your country in various forms.
Yep.
You've done a lot on the cricket field. You've been a great servant of Australia cricket, but we don't care.
No.
Right? Just here to start with, we don't care. We do. We don't. I want to know your greatest sporting achievement not on the cricket field. And I'm looking at your face and I feel like you've got something loaded up for me.
I'm a Backchat fan, mate. I'm a Backchat fan.
He's got 3.
Your greatest sporting moment not on the cricket
Not on
field.
the pitch.
Yep. So I'm going to take you back to year 5, Leeming Primary.
Leeming.
Athletics day, 200 metres. I was in lane 1 and there was a young kid. I actually forget his name. I think his name was Jaron.
We hate Jaron.
Yeah, and anyway, so I've taken out 200 metres, and he was hot favourite, and on the day he was a bit crook apparently. So, so I've taken it out up on the pedestal. Think I'm going all right. Trying to get champion boy, and ended up getting champion boy,
Congratulations.
which is a huge achievement. My athletic capabilities probably ended on that day. Not the most athletic bloke. But the story behind it is there was a protest on the day.
From who?
His parents.
No.
Mrs.
And
Jared.
so we had to rerun the race on the Monday. Year 5.
What?
When he was feeling better.
Oh, you're kidding me.
And we were about 50 metres out from the finishing line. And he's just streamed past me. And I didn't even finish the race. I stopped, walked, started crying, straight into class. That was it. He
So
took it off me.
did you retain champion boy? Did you have enough points?
Questions.
Well, I still retained champion boy, but
Yeah,
the
good.
fact that I lost the 200 metres to a protest in year 5 as a 10-year-old, it was pretty hard to take. And safe to say I never quite got over it. So
did they one-on-one, yeah, or did they have all the kids run? Or was it just...
it was one-on-one.
No.
Everyone else
Was
was in
the
class.
school watching?
Everyone else was in class. I had to come out of my maths class and run another 200 metres.
That
So
is the best thing I've
I wish you would have just done the Seinfeld of like, I choose not to run.
well, yeah. So for one day, it was my greatest sporting achievement outside of, as you mentioned, a few of the things that I've been able to achieve, but it didn't last long.
I don't want to go on too much about Jared, but also like, why didn't they rerun the 100? And all the other, like, why was it just the 200 that they wanted him to
Yeah,
win?
look, I'm not sure.
That's brutal.
He's pretending he doesn't know the name of Jaron, but he clearly does know exactly who it is.
I'll find you.
Mate, that's one of the better starts we've had to that chat here. As you can see, we are wearing the merchandise, the
Yes.
fan merchandise.
Yeah, good. Love it.
Was that an actual cricket shot, or did you sit in a studio holding your bat in the air like that, looking off into the distance?
That one is actually a cricket shot.
It's very nice.
Yeah, it was Dan from StreetX did very well, and
Just everything's
Sold a few,
photoshopped
so
off it.
Still
There's no
pretty much it.
logos or anything.
no, I'm
just
actually
the-
looking pretty fit there. So I'm not actually sure that's my rig.
what shot do you reckon that was? A 4, 6?
That's a pull shot. I'd say from where I'm looking, hopefully a 6. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
Surprised you haven't
We'll go
picked
with
up
6.
this cricket ball on the desk here.
looks like an old Red King.
Well, what
Yeah,
is
it's
it?
it was a kookaburra. It was from my under 12s. Look, I didn't bring it up. Under 12s grand final, 5 for 16. 5
Wow.
for 16.
I don't know. It's
Can't remember. It's
that,
5 for 12 or 5 for, no, it's 5 for 16.
Hey.
Grand final, and we lost. But that's the ball from it. My coach made a trophy out of it because he thought, you've done that well. I've got to, Chewett Hill Cricket Club. You would know Chewett Hill Cricket Club, Lions?
Yes, I do.
What was your local club?
Willerton when I grew up, and then moved to Fremantle. which I've been there since I was about 14. So
So growing up in the Marsh household, you come from cricketing heritage
heritage.
with the old man, Swampy, and brother Sean.
Yep.
Is it true you might be the third best sports person in the family, though, with Melissa's basketball?
Yeah, it's often brought up in conversation that I'm the worst out of the family, which you learn to accept over the journey. But Melissa, my sister, obviously, she always talks about how she's the forgotten one. 250 games for the WNBL, for the Perth Lynx.
Captain of the Lynx.
Captain of the Lynx. An incredible career, and I guess a bit of a pioneer for that generation in terms of, they were unpaid, very poorly paid as female athletes. So to see where female sports getting now, it's something that she can be very proud of, and she had an amazing career.
Was it a competitive household, I assume?
Yeah, it was. But in the same sentence, it also wasn't, because Sean and I had a big age gap, 8 years. So a lot of the backyard battles we had were me bowling until Sean had enough, and then we'd walk inside. And then I'd complain to mum and dad and have a cry, and Sean would come out and bowl to me for literally like 3 minutes. And that was it. So I've actually got him to thank for me being an all-rounder, because I did a heap of bowling growing up. But he was a prick.
And then when you got, I'm glad you said was. That's not an is. I mean, that's why you're such just a big hitter. You had to come in a short period of time and just go
Correct.
whack over the fence.
A couple of power plays.
A couple of 6 and outs. Your dad plays cricket for Australia, and then you two end up playing cricket for Australia. Sometimes, when a family member plays sport and then the kids do, like, is it just a part of your life? Like, is that how it happens? Do you grow up wanting to play cricket for Australia?
Yeah, I think I'm extremely grateful for the childhood we were able to have. Sean was obviously around when Dad was still playing, and grew up in the Australian dressing room. And then when I sort of got old enough, Dad was coaching Australia and Zimbabwe as well. So I grew up around international cricket change rooms with my heroes growing up. A few great stories about, the Steve Waugh and Shane Warne and all those guys. That generation was just incredible. So cricket was always a part of our life. As a young kid, I was like any other kid. I played cricket in the summer, footy in the winter. And I absolutely loved that. And it wasn't really until, and I just, like, our family's just, I feel like it's a very normal family, and I never saw Dad as an Australian cricketer or as the Australian coach. He was just Dad, and very grateful to be brought up in a family like that. So that was incredible. And then really it wasn't until I was sort of 14 or 15 where I started to really, teachers used to ask me, what am I going to do after school? And I said, I'm going to play cricket.
Really?
So, it really just sort of happened really naturally, and I've been very lucky.
Now, talking about families, we have a family member of Mitch Marsh's on this podcast before.
Yeah, we have.
Yes.
And I think you might be aware of this.
Yep.
Bradley Shepherd,
Yep.
West Coast
Shepard.
Eagle, former teammate of mine, great mate of mine. When he was on here, and honestly, like when he was on here, it was just to get it on the record, but I'd heard it a lot of times from him. He used to speak about, as a young kid, he would have it well over you as a cricketer, and if he wanted to, he could have gone down the cricket route. Do you, one, who's a better cricketer? Two, I don't know the answer to that. Two, flip it over. You were a footy player growing up, right? You're representing your state as a footy player.
Like my footy.
Could you have just plied your trade in the AFL if you wanted to, like Brad seems to roll around saying about cricket?
Yeah, look, Brad, I dare say, probably has a little bit more confidence in himself than what I do.
Okay.
And he's more happy to be on record saying that he could have been a Test cricketer. And he was an extremely talented cricketer, I must say. And I definitely think he could have played professional cricket as a bowler. But for him to sit here and say that, it just sums him up beautifully. Because he literally quit when he was like 15. So,
who
like, give
knows?
it up, Shep, But yeah, we had a lot of fun growing up together.
Where did you play as a footy player?
I was an old school full forward. I don't think I would have lasted in today's modern football society.
So I'm just imagining one-on-one, bit of a
Parked
wrestle,
up in the square.
bit of a Tony Lockett type operator, just a palm back, point, kick,
Yes.
give it to me,
And
clear
if
it
it
out.
wasn't close enough, I was a mouthguard thrower. Just
You was
kick it
straight
to me,
line,
boys.
big turning up, big Titanic doing a big arc at the top of the 50.
pretty much, yeah. Set up the zone. I did not handball.
When you were playing cricket as a youngster, were you like opening the batting and the bowling? Because I remember playing this one guy named Brett, and he did that. And when they had a really good cricketer, you're just always so jealous because straight in, straight out, batting, bowling.
Yeah, I used to bat sort of number 3 or 4, and then either open the bowling or bowl first change. My mum was always big on me not being that guy,
Right.
in our teams and making sure I was sharing with people and probably more so just enjoying being a part of a team because you know what it's like as a kid. You want to do everything. You want to bat first, you want to bowl first, you want to field in the best position, but she taught me a lot about being a part of a team from a really young age, and it's held me in good stead for my whole career, really. So, but yeah, I pretty much did.
That's pretty interesting. That mum's the lesson teacher in terms of playing in team, given your old man did it for a living.
Yeah, Dad was away a lot coaching, so Mum spent like literally an amazing amount of time just taking us to cricket and everywhere, really. So
Good deck chair.
yeah, she had a good deck chair. She used to love it. I remember one game I got to run out for a diamond duck. And for those that don't understand cricket, it's when you get run out without facing a ball. And I came off, threw my bat, threw my helmet, and Mum raced over, grabbed me by the ear, and gave me a good hosing about not blowing up.
Really?
That one didn't quite stick with me though because I punched a wall a few years ago. So I'm sure we'll get to that, but she taught me a lot.
Diamond duck. I'm sure I have told it on this podcast. I speak too much on this pod. I've got a diamond duck. So my cricketing memory was we got a ball machine down at training, Geelong College, year 7, year 8, and they used to put the ball machine at the end and just put it in the same spot. So it was the first time we used it and it just kept hitting perfect length. Mm-hmm. And it took me about 12 shots to hit the ball. But then once my brain could see where it got
your eye in.
It was just rhythm, bang, bang. And I started just looking like $1 million. So the coach, I was a bowler, right? And he goes, I reckon you can open the batting. Great technique, very solid, nice and straight. You can open the batting. So my first game of opening the batting, I was petrified. And I thought, I don't want to face the first ball. I'll just get the nerves down, stand at the other end. Anyway, it's at Melbourne Grammar. Tom Hawkins' old school, Xavier Ellis, and I got clipped down to fine leg. Never opened the batting before in my life. Like, not a massive cricketer. Yes. I mean, it's fine leg. It's a single there. I got run out going for a single to fine leg, direct hit.
No.
I didn't even dive. I just kept running off the ground and I sat and watched the boys bat and I never opened the batting again. That's my cricket story.
Ouch.
We're talking about Brad Shepard before. So you talk about the age difference between you and Sean. You and Shep are quite close in age, aren't you?
Yes, 5 months.
So growing up, not that you were living together, but you spent a lot of time together. You've got a close relationship. Like if someone's listening to this and not watching it, I dare say that you could think that this is Brad Shepard speaking. You sound the same. You do.
Yeah.
Do people say that?
Yeah, there's a very funny story actually. Shep got stitched up on radio, on live radio, where I don't know the station. Brad will be able to tell you.
Yeah.
They had him on and said, and basically got him on and said, we want to go back to an interview you did a few years ago. Can you let us know what you were thinking when you said all this? And they played me doing an interview.
And Shep would have been sitting there going, I wonder what I was thinking
He
there.
basically said, I can't remember saying this and then, in his head. But then he said, he basically admitted to it being him and it was me the whole time. Classic stitch
We
up.
need to track that.
Yeah, you do.
That's good.
You sound the same. Is it? I mean, that's not coincidence. You spent a lot of time together growing up, right?
Yeah, we literally went to school together. We'd stay at each other's house every weekend, footy, cricket, spent our whole childhood together. So very lucky.
You make the choice for cricket, put footy to the side,
Yep.
hang up the boots, literal. But you make inroads pretty quickly in the cricketing world. You're the youngest ever debutant domestic level, I think. 19 years old, 2009. It's a long time ago. That make you feel old?
Yeah, big time, big time.
What's it like playing with the big boys on highest national level as a youngster?
Yeah, I look back now and I was so far out of my depth, just more so as a young kid. You're still trying to figure yourself out at that age, and I didn't even know about figuring myself out. I was just this young, wide-eyed kid. Debuted for Australia in T20s at 18 at a ground called the Bullring in Joburg, and it's the most hostile crowd in world cricket, one of the most hostile crowds. And I actually did okay, but it was just an incredible experience playing with some of the guys I played with. Debuted in a one-day game, Ricky Ponting. Remember my first ever wicket. I got Hashim Amla caught behind Brad Haddon, and I just ran straight to punter at point, gave him a hug. I didn't care about anyone else. I didn't care that I got a wicket, just straight to punter. Just gave him a hug.
But just trying to set up the field for the next ball. I love you.
But yeah, to get an opportunity to play for Australia at such a young age is something now that I'm extremely grateful for. And I mean, the journey I've been on, it's been up and down at times, but I wouldn't change it for the world.
Do you debut in the IPL in 2010? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, basically that the year after that, yeah.
So you're sort of debuting it, and that's like pretty, like, I don't know when the IPL started. Like, when did the IPL start?
2008, I reckon, or
Yeah,
2007,
that, yeah.
maybe 2006 even.
So did you have the was that the auction set up at that time?
Yes. First year, I am getting old because I can't even remember. But I got bought by Deccan Chargers.
Declan? Yeah.
Deccan Chargers.
Yes.
Darren Lehman was coach, so that was unbelievable. In the team we had Herschel Gibbs, Gilly, Andrew Simons, Ryan Harris, Rohit Sharma, a few other, but like those five were just. Rohit was very young then, so he was just coming on the scene. But the year before, Deccan had won it, so it was just walking into that change room, sitting next to literally heroes of mine as an 18-year-old kid, and then I played a few games as well. They got me straight in, and it was an unbelievable experience.
Is that? I know it's different over there, the crowds, but is it surreal? Like, they're what, Indian cricket fans are just ravaging. They just love their cricket.
Yeah, it's
more
than
Australia.
Something that I struggle to explain, and I always try and get people to just, if you're ever going to watch cricket, probably an Ashes in England is right up there, but having a week in India and watching 3 or 4 IPL games at a few different stadiums is just, there's nothing that will ever match it. They're so loud. It's just incredible. For 3.5 hours, they just yell and scream, and it's quite amazing.
Because you sit on the boundary right now, like you're pretty much sitting in the crowd. You're just the front row of the crowd.
Yeah, yep, pretty much. I had the first game last year. I had come off just a little injury from Pakistan, so I missed the first game playing for Delhi, and it was a bit of a big build-up to my first game. Coming off the injury, I was batting at 3, which is, T20 team. It's a really important team spot to bat at. And I came in feeling pretty good, and I think I made 12 off about 28 balls.
I'm not sure why I'm laughing.
It's laughable. It's laughable. And I shanked them. I could not hit them off the square. And the IPL is the sort of tournament where you want to do well. Obviously, you want to win it, but it's just such an incredible tournament to be a part of. So there's different pressures that come with playing in the IPL. And so first game back in a few years, I've sort of said no to the IPL for quite a while to always focus on playing for Australia and making sure I'm right there and playing Test cricket and all that sort of stuff. But
you got a wedding coming up, so you're back into.
Yeah, and 12 of 28, I got run out off the bowler's hand, and I walked off and walked past Punter, who's coach now, and I said, "Thank Christ for that." And I just remember I sat on the bench and I just felt so small. I was like, "Oh my God, that's embarrassing."
What's the process there? If you are 12 from 28, you just like, I got to get out or hit them, like, because you can't just keep staying in T20.
No, after about the 12th ball, you're trying to appear calm, and it is panic stations. I felt like I was batting with a donut. It was just I could not hit it, and I was glad to walk off.
I think the IPL, I kind of, I understand and I watch along, but it also seems like, such a different system. Can you explain, so the auction that happens and you get bought for, let's just say $1 million, right? Is that your contract? Like you see in footy world, someone signs a contract and signs a deal and gets announced they're on $1 million over 3 years. Is that the same thing, or does some money go to marketing? Is that your pay?
Yep. So whatever you get bought for in the auction is basically what you will get paid, but you have to basically be over there and you have to play to get paid your full amount of contract. I've never really understood it, to be honest. It's quite technical.
Yeah. So,
I'm just grateful to be there.
Yeah, correct.
But there's basically you have to play a certain amount of games to get your full contract.
Right.
Certain franchises do it all differently. So,
and so is there big involvement from owners of the teams, like either companies or private ownership or however it works? Like, are you getting drafted to whoever you play for and then meeting the owners and that's who you're representing? Or
yeah, big time. They're extremely Delhi have got some great owners, and they're quite involved. More so in they just care so much. They spend obviously a lot of money to buy these teams, and it's becoming such a big tournament now that they're there to win, and it's not just a big party like it may have been 15 years ago. So they're involved. We have conversations. They speak to us before the auction about certain guys to get, and Delhi's probably, I've been a part of a few franchises now, but Delhi's been by far my favourite in terms of it's quite relaxed. Ricky Ponting's obviously our coach and does a fantastic job, but it feels like a real family. Our owners appear to be really humble people that just want guys to do well and obviously win. And for me personally, with sort of the person I am, when I feel like that, like a part of a family, it's when I sort of thrive and play my best and have the most fun. So it's been really incredible. But some of the other franchises are pretty hectic, I think.
Yeah.
Do the owners come into the rooms and give you a little pump up before games and stuff? Or are they, or do they keep their distance? Because in some sports, the owners like to feel like they're a part of the team.
Yeah, definitely. We have conversations. Sometimes they'll come into meetings. If you're losing, you get a bit of a spray, a bit of a clip, which is it's always fun. But yeah, as I said, we've been very lucky, and the last couple of years, COVID sort of changed that. So it's really just been the playing group and the coaching staff. But no doubt they'll have more of an involvement over the next few years.
So talking about IPL, but what about playing for Australia? So you remember the first time you played for Australia in any form?
Yep. As I spoke about before, the bull ring for a T20, we lost unfortunately, but got a couple over the boundary, which was a nice feeling.
Didn't you spank him? Didn't you?
Got a couple away.
4
yeah.
sixes and hit 2 4s and
Hit
5 of those were off the last over?
Yeah, hit Mornay for one of the biggest sixes of all time. So if he's a fan of Backchat, g'day Mornay.
Would love to, absolutely would love
Yeah, for
Mornay,
sure.
Mornay Morkel on.
Yeah.
Do you feel like, is that like ticking a box? I don't know, it's difficult from a domestic sport like AFL to understand what you guys, given you got so many different competitions and then different sides of the game. How does that work with you? Do you have priorities as a cricketer? I want to play Test cricket is number one for Australia. Is that what it is? And
Yeah, I think for anyone sort of aspiring to play for Australia, that's always going to be the number one. I look back on my debut in the white ball formats, T20s and one days, it was basically straight after each other. And I had literally just come on the scene. So I had goals really as an 18-year-old kid. I didn't really have a lot of goals. I just was playing cricket and loving it. So that all happened really quick for me. So it wasn't as if I felt like I'd reached a sort of the pinnacle or achieved these goals. I was just like, holy shit, I'm wearing green and gold. I'm playing in front of 30,000 people in Johannesburg. Where am I? What am I doing? It wasn't really until I probably debuted for Australia in Dubai, my first Test match I was 23 at that stage. 2014,
Pakistan.
yeah. Pakistan in Dubai. Yep, there was about 35 people in the crowd. 30
Mitch.
30 of those were marshes. So that was an experience. But that was that was an amazing experience to, since I was 15, I'd wanted to have a bag of green like my dad and my brother at that stage, and to be able to join them in that. There was a lot more to it than just playing cricket for Australia. Dad presented me with my cap. That was very emotional. He spoke about in his cap presentation about how growing up his baggy green was on the wall and that he wanted my baggy green to sit right next to his on the wall for the rest of our lives. And now you're basically doing it. So that was like, you see a few of the guys just putting their glasses on.
Yeah, that's good.
So that, like, so many emotions go with receiving a baggy green cap. We obviously, everyone in Australia knows what that is. People that don't even follow cricket know the baggy green. So at that point in time, to say that I had one and I was a part of the brotherhood, you could say, was a really special moment for my career.
Where do you keep it when you're the baggy green when you're not playing? You're not
Yep.
playing every day of the year. Where is it? You don't have to give like exact locations. Or is it?
It's in the top right-hand drawer, my socks and jocks.
Really?
And
Does it sit on top of the socks and jocks, or is it?
no,
at the
it's just
bottom of the
under. Yeah,
I mean,
it's a bit messy in there.
obviously you can't rotation.
Yeah, and originally I put it in there as a bit of a motivational thing once I was out of the team, so that I would see my baggy green every day, just to remind me of why I'm doing this.
Yes.
But then Cameron Green came along, and now that's just so it still sits in there, collecting dust at the moment. But
Is that the original one? The original baggy green? Have you had more than one from, we've heard people sort of, they've been so tattered or they've lost them, they've had to get them replaced.
nah, mine's original.
The OG.
Yep. I should have brought it in. Should have told me.
Yeah.
Try it up here.
I got my equivalent here.
baggy
my butter Terry Toweling.
Love it.
Well, that's kind of an interesting point about Cam Green, but probably a more positive thing. I mean, like all rounders in this country, it's pretty strong stocks, which hasn't always been the case. Like when you're sort of fighting for your spot in the team, all Australian all rounders seem like it's a bloody hard spot to hold down. Like you got to be. These opening batters, they just got to know how to bat. Don't have to bowl. I assume it's a different discipline, right? To be an all-rounder compared to being a bowler or a batter.
Yeah, big time. And the reason they're so sought after is because they're just so vital to the makeup of your team. If you have three quick bowlers, it allows you to always play a spinner if you've got an all-rounder. So in any conditions, we can play Nathan Lyon, and when it's spinning, he's amazing.
Yes.
Even when it's not spinning, he's amazing. But he's always like a holder, and it allows the quicks to not necessarily bowl big long spells. And then you've got a luxury like someone like Cameron Green who comes in and bowls 140 k's an hour. So he's learning the capers of international cricket. Being an all-rounder is really, really hard physically and mentally. So I think the next 12 months will be his biggest challenge. But I mean, we've seen him being challenged already, and he just takes everything in his stride. He's a great learner, and he's probably Australia's biggest asset when it comes to batting, bowling, and everything. So he's going to have a big career.
Do you think sometimes that it makes it more difficult, not just for the public, but for coaches or players to actually judge how you play? Because I assume bowlers, we just look at their figures, and if they've gone well, they've gone well. Batters, made runs, gone well.
Yep.
All-rounder, you might make, I don't know, whatever it is, bowl kind of well, but you don't do either exceptional. So do you think sometimes that it makes it hard to judge how a player plays?
Yeah, I think we've seen that this summer with Greeny, in a sense that all the batters made a heap of runs. So he actually wasn't really required as a batsman, and we also bowled really well. So it's kind of a sign of how well the side's going if your all-rounder's not actually doing a lot. And I think it's difficult when you've got someone like Cameron Green who could probably bat 4 in the test team and could also open the bowling. So there's all this expectation that we want him to average 50 and average 25 with the ball and be taking fifers here and there. But we've just seen enough. We've seen a glimpse, him being around the team and not really being needed just yet, but also learning along the way and just developing. It's going to be more important than any stats that he's got to his name now. And in the next few years, we'll really see him just blow up.
You've been that young kid, trying to do everything well. Like what's the sort of advice you give for, not calling you old?
I am old.
But like, what you talk about your time as an 18, 19-year-old in the Aussie team. Like, if you had someone back in the day say, "Hey, Mitch, this is what's the advice?"
I'd probably speak to myself if I could speak to anyone back then.
Yeah.
I think as a young kid, you just want to, every single game, you want to do well. And I never really had the right outlook, or just I had a lot of growing up to do whilst trying to play cricket for Australia. So I always try to explain it to people that when I was younger, like if my cricket was going really well, and I feel like a lot of young athletes could probably relate to this, is when my cricket was going really well, I was flying. Like I was on fire as a person, as a human being. I was like, yeah, this is elite. If cricket wasn't going well, I was like down in the dumps. I didn't want to socialise, and that sort of roller coaster emotionally, it's really hard to be consistent in anything you're doing. So I always thought that's probably why my performances weren't as consistent as they could possibly be. And it wasn't really until I started to get a bit older, probably gain a bit more perspective on life and realise that whilst cricket's my job and it's my passion, and I absolutely love it, it's not the be-all and end-all in my life. And been on a bit of a journey to sort of find out, I guess, what makes me tick as a person, and what makes me happy. And cricket obviously makes me happy, but there's so much to life that makes me happy. And when all that's going really well, my cricket seems to be ticking boxes. So,
do you think that's a difficult lesson to be told and one you have to learn? Like, if someone's sitting you down and telling you that is all good, but to go through ups and downs like you've gone through, or anyone else in any other field, is it something you kind of have to go through to kind of get?
Yeah, I think so. I think others probably deal with that and deal with failure differently, and we all do that differently. But I think what cricket's taught me is to learn to deal with failure. And it doesn't matter if you're a professional athlete, a businessman, you're at school. The more you learn to deal with failure as a person, it'll hold you in good stead for life. And that's sort of been my biggest lesson. As a cricketer, as a batsman, you fail you actually only perform, really, the best players perform 1 in 3 games. The best player, like Steve Smith, 1 in 3 games, apart from his last 5 Big Bash games. He's a freak,
yes.
And he's a bad example. But on average, as a batsman, it's 1 in 4. So you're failing 75% of the time. And if you can't deal with that failure and learn from it, then shit gets real hard. So that's sort of all the learnings I've gathered from cricket, and hopefully they'll all hold me in good stead for life after cricket.
What's considered a failure in batting then? Is there a certain benchmark of runs? I mean, I guess it depends on each game, but is there a number for you where you're just like, okay, I'm happy enough, I just scraped by with at least an average performance?
Yeah, well, my test average I think is 22, right, which could be mistaken for a bowler's average. So I think getting to 22 for me in test cricket, I'll probably be raising the bat at the moment.
I'm trying to what is it? I'm trying to think what it is in footy.
Yeah, I think a start in cricket is basically like 30, 40, probably even 50 for the best players, but 30 or 40 you sort of get through that hard period of your first 20 balls, which is always the hardest.
Yeah.
Once you get through that and you get a bit of a rhythm going, they say that getting to 30 or 40 is a start. But really, yeah, if you're the best batsman average 50, so 100 runs a game is probably where you want to be sort of sitting to keep your spot.
When you're approaching those sort of numbers like 50 and 100, I mean, you've made ODI hundreds and Test hundreds. What's the mental sort of strain with that, knowing, because like 100's just a number. It doesn't, 99 is no different to 100 really. It's 1 run difference, but there's such an emphasis put on centuries.
Yeah, there is. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because really, it's a personal milestone. You get 99 or 100, the team's still going to be in a good position. So I've always found that weird with cricket. Like, we celebrate hundreds, but when you get one, it's pretty fun. Yeah, you get nervous. 50 is not so much, but hundreds you sort of get to the 90s and you start thinking about it. It's a personal milestone, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that come with it. You get your name on a board and all that sort of rubbish that comes with it.
So your maiden Test century was at the WACA 2017. Talking about that, like, were you on 97 or 98 or 99? Like, can you remember being close to the first 100 for Australia, and what were you thinking?
Yeah, I was very, very nervous. Stuart Broad was bowling.
Yeah,
I think I was on 96, and Yeah, I came into that team. It was the third Test match of the Ashes series, so I came in. We'd already won the first two, but I was in really good form, so I actually felt really calm and comfortable that week. And yeah, came in, had an unbelievable partnership with Smithy.
He scored like 200 in that.
He scored 200, 230, yeah.
It's not about Smitty. He scores enough of them.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not just
Come on, mate. And yeah, I had so many family and friends there. It was at the Wacker, a really special place for any West Australian. And yeah, I was very nervous in the 90s. I'd got close a couple of times, and my first game back, so I just wanted to be a part of it. And yeah, hit Stuart Broad through sort of cover point and took the helmet off and celebrated. It was one of the great feelings I've ever had.
You got up and about. I was watching the video before. You were pretty pumped.
Yeah, there was a lot of emotion in that celebration.
What were the emotions?
Happiness, joy. There was a lot of sort of conjecture about me coming back into the team. There always has been with me in Test cricket. But yeah, I was just pumped, and I don't say there was anger in the celebration, but it was just like,
Was it relief?
just relief, mate. Yeah, just absolute relief that you sort of got this belief that you can do it, and you fail and you fail and you fail, and you get to a point where you're sort of in the moment. And I also wanted to take it all in, being at the Wacker and the crowd was going nuts, and it was an awesome afternoon. And then after that, we got 3 hours of just smacking them. It was great.
I was there actually, Dan.
Were you?
Don't go to a lot of cricket. I was there. The big VIP sponsors
Oh, of
10
course.
out in the wing. The big
Back in the
white one.
heyday.
Yeah. It's a long time ago now. I reckon Shep might have been up there as well. I'm always sure I was with Shep, and it was bloody good to see.
Special. Is there is there anyone that's known to sort of carry on a bit too long after the 100? Because there's some that keep it pretty chill, but is there like a time limit where it's like, all right, mate, you've had your glory?
Yeah, I think Davey Warner. He's got the
He goes on,
he's got the
doesn't
Toyota jump.
He does.
And his 200 at the MCG at Boxing Day when he was cramping this year,
that is
and he
a
couldn't do it.
He did it, and then just like he snapped his leg. I was crying with laughter.
Yeah, that was funny. That was
the
actually
boys
funny.
would have given it to him.
Yeah, they would have.
Didn't he get carried?
He got carried off.
They tried to carry him, and then he was hobbling. Because he would have been thinking, if I get carried off here after making 200, I can't walk back into that change room.
No way.
He wouldn't have been able to.
No, Davey would have been like, yeah, carry me off.
Funnily enough, Shep got carried off one day and then played the next week, I'm pretty sure. And it was exactly the same. He was like, no, you got the stretcher out here. Get me off. Take me off.
What else is it for?
Correct.
Well, so talking about the team and specifically the Australian Test team, like people who are listening don't get to sit in the change room or the locker room, and like what goes on as a batter when you're not batting? Like what are you guys doing? What are you doing in the change rooms?
Talking absolute rubbish.
Is that why cricketers are such good talkers of shit?
Yeah, pretty much. We do a lot of it.
Yes.
Yeah, look, I think the one good thing about the Australian team, especially now, is I feel like there's just a lot of normal Australian blokes, and we just talk the same shit that a third grade team would talk on a Saturday afternoon. We're all for that. A lot of the guys in the Test team now are proper cricket nuffies, so there's a lot of cricket chat. So that's probably why I'm not there anymore.
So you're not a cricket nuffy?
I would say that I am a cricket nuffy, but in terms of like stats and
Yes.
talking batting all day, every day, it's probably not for me, but I obviously love the game and it's been a passion of mine. But there is a lot of shit spoken, a lot of toasties eaten, any food really. But
So in footy, right, there's a saying that goes forward, sell memberships, mid sign sponsorships.
backs win premierships.
Oh, man. My absolute man. So, cricket context, who are the backmen of the team? Because you just admitted, look, I would have thought that you're actually, you come across as a bit of a backman, but you've said you're a full forward growing up. So who are the backmen? Is it the bowlers?
Can I just say that I did used to get swung back in defence when required.
The Anacondas.
When the game was on the line and it was getting a bit
Big
close, I was sent back.
They put you back
Send the
there 'cause
bison
you were
back
the
there.
biggest, you were the biggest bloke. That's
Yeah.
the other reason. Put him in the hole.
I think that the bowlers definitely the backs.
Right.
To win a Test match, you have to take 20 wickets. Doesn't matter how many runs you score. Well, really, if you bat first, then you have to take 20 wickets to
Yes.
win a game. So,
Team within a team as well.
oh yeah, big time. Yeah, they've got proper bromance. Yeah, they call themselves the Big Four. It's like
I saw a video. This was like a few years back of them, like they were talking about you. Some of the fast bowlers talking about you because you were sort of trying to leaving the full time fast bowlers team or something like that. There was a bit of conjecture or sort of controversy around. Was it because you were moving to more all round play and test?
no, yeah, the fast bowlers cartel. They like to think that it's a sought after place to be in.
Right.
But really, you can either bowl 140 k's an hour or you can't. And I don't. But I think I offered just a bit more than bowling fast to the group, social captain, all that sort of stuff. But I basically became this big thing that you had to bowl a ball over 140 k's in a game, like every game, to remain in the fast bowlers cartel.
Really?
So, and it became an actual thing. I would be in the middle of a test match, like games on the line, ball in my hand, and all I cared about was bowling 140 k's. So I'm there bowling to Virat Kohli or someone, and he's smacking me before, and before it gets to the boundary, I'm looking at the big screen going, 134. Like, no care for the game. But that's the fun that we have, you know?
And you got removed. You couldn't meet the
Yeah,
standards.
I think in the end I probably just gave up and retired from the fast bowling cartel.
What's the difference between
That is unbelievable.
135 and 140? Like how much extra are you having to
5
put into
kilometres.
it? Yeah, obviously.
Even I could have told you that.
Like, are you trying to bowl the fastest you can possibly bowl to get it to 140, or is it like, yeah, well, how do you get it to go that?
Yeah, a lot of the
bit
time
faster?
with bowling, it's actually just rhythm. So at times the hardest, the faster you try and bowl, the slower you bowl for some reason. I guess it's like kicking a footy. You try and kick it 70 metres, you normally shank it or whatever. So a lot of those guys will naturally just run in and bowl 140 k's an hour. Other guys have to really try and bustle in. And so for me to go from 135 to 140 is, to be brutally honest, probably just a bit of pot luck with my timing and landing right and everything come together for one ball.
Oh, that's bloody good. I just want to get some vision of Marshy just getting hit for 6 and looking back at the scoreboard, looking for the speed. You mentioned, you didn't give it a lot of attention, but social captain. What does that mean? I've never heard that before.
Yeah, look, I like to
Does it
also
expand?
refer to myself as the general manager of food and beverage on tour.
The people's champ, I
Just,
assume.
no, that's
All-round
that's-
legend.
That's Usman's self-proclaimed.
Okay.
But
People's champ.
I'm certainly not that.
Food and beverage manager. Okay.
No, I'm just making sure that on tour we've got places to go and restaurants to
Right.
eat at, and
That's important.
Yeah.
it's important, yeah.
Because everyone's always sitting around going, where are we going to go today, boys? Well,
Yep.
And then Google comes out, someone gets TripAdvisor out, 80-year-old
Urban
reviews on
Spoon.
there. Yeah, like, we need a Mitch Marsh. So that's what the social manager does.
Yeah, I was self-proclaimed, so basically Usman Khawaja. But yeah, just making sure that we're always having fun on tour, and at the end of the game, we've always got somewhere to go for a quiet ale, and I mean, I love that. That's
So do I.
international cricket. We travel the world. We're playing a game we love, but it's also really important to switch off and enjoy what the world has to offer.
Do you have fines? A fines master?
Yeah, so that's where fines in the Australian team is not somewhere where you want to be. You can walk out of there a couple of grand. Yeah, like it's the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever experienced. Like getting fined $700 for the wrong shoes. It's like, what?
Who's sort of putting that in
I
place.
would have a field day with you, bloke. I was fines marshal at West Coast. I would have a field day with you, bloke. I would have a field day. All right, hands up. Who's got an IPL contract?
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
Here we go.
Yeah,
We're going to
that's
take
right.
1% off each of you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Put it in the kitty.
Yeah, you get the. We don't do fines anymore. It's just
Right.
got out of hand. But
Who was the fines master when it was getting out of hand? You don't have to give me any fines.
it might have even been Bull, David Warner.
Bull. That's a good name.
Yeah, the Bull, the Cannon.
You see pictures of, the old boys, right? Booney and David Boone sitting where you are now. We spoke to him a bit about it, and Warney, and all the guys. Those pictures of in the change rooms having beers after winning the Ashes. What's that like?
Unbelievable. Yeah, all my best memories. Been lucky enough, won a World Cup, won an Ashes series, won Big Bashes, all this sort of stuff. But all my best memories are in the change rooms, and I think that's hopefully what a lot of people can relate to in terms of, like I said before, it doesn't matter if you're playing for Australia or you're playing for your club team on a Sunday afternoon. You play to enjoy winning with your mates, and that's exactly what we do. So some of the celebrations over the journey have been fantastic.
Have you had lock-ins before? You stay in the rooms?
Well,
Kick
yeah,
it out?
COVID sort of forced us into lock-ins. So we've had a few awesome sessions in team rooms, and
Wasn't there footage coming? Oh, you probably get in trouble for this. I don't know, but you just say I have no idea what you're talking about. Wasn't there footage after the World Cup? Australia won I'm just talking to Dan, by the way. Anyone who's not watching, Isn't there footage after the World Cup of the boys? We used to have a couple of sherbets, maybe it's 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning out in the pool deck. I feel like
I
Gary
remember
Lyon was
this.
out there. Nathan, is this right? Is this potentially
after the
correct?
Ashes,
Was it the Ashes or was it
Yeah.
the World Cup? It would have been the Ashes.
Ashes,
Some
yeah.
morning beers.
Yeah, a couple of breakfast beers for the boys. Nathan Lyon's one of the great celebrators, so
Good.
there's no doubt that would have been him.
What's the memory like of both making a century, you and Sean out the middle, making a century with your brother? Like that is legitimately dreams are made of, backyard cricket type stuff.
Yeah, people always talk about it's a dream come true, dream come true. That was in the moment. You're not actually I wasn't really thinking about it until I started getting close to 100. I was like, oh, we've got a chance to do something real special here. Just don't stuff it up. But to have that partnership with Sean, I remember the night before he was on 98 or 96 or something, and there was 2 overs to go, and I was on strike, and I just couldn't get off strike. So every ball, crowd was booing me. Sean, I could see him just tensing up, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Is there like any element of going cold? Like if you're not on strike, like you want to keep on strike when you close?
yeah, in test matches probably not so much.
But with 2 overs to go in the game,
And you're in 98. That is.
wrap it up, mate.
Yeah,
Let's
wrap
go.
it up. So I left him stranded on 98 overnight.
Did ya?
Yeah, or 90, like 96 or 97 or something.
Did you speak about it that night?
Not really. He was like any danger. Yeah, fuming. So he came out, and I think it was the first over the next day. Got his 100, and that was awesome. And then it was obviously over to me. So I remember vividly. I hit Tom Curran out through point. I was on 98, so ran back on 99. Ran back for 2, and halfway down the wicket, Sean's just like ran at me for a hug. And so we've just sort of completely lost all track of what's
Ball's
actually
still
going.
live?
Ball was live. So there's awesome footage of Steve Smith like yelling at us to get back. We hugged, embraced, realised we were halfway down the wicket, and then like just bolted I almost got run out. So it was just it was very much us. But to have that moment with him in the middle of the SCG, that's as good as it gets.
Oh, that is gold.
Yeah.
So who thought the ball went? So someone thought it went for 4.
No, we both knew that it wasn't like I was coming back for the second run.
So what are you Muppets doing in the middle of
Well, emotion gets the better of people at times, and this was happy emotion, and he just came in for a hug. It was, unbelievable.
Would have been the most brutal run out of all time, I reckon.
Yeah, that would have.
Would you have lost your home? Wow.
I'm not sure I would have come back. No.
Ever to the game.
Nah.
I heard a story on the Howie Games. Very big fan of his work over there, Howie. when you made, I think it was your debut century, Bull Fleeman was the coach, and I'm assuming like your first goal in AFL, the boys get around you, like your fullback's coming down and he's giving you a hug, he's giving your ass a bit of a pat, a few other things in the group. I'm assuming cricket-wise, if you make your 100, you're coming back to the change rooms and the boys are getting around you. Wasn't there a bit of a stitch-up involved?
Big stitch-up, yeah.
What
Walking off the ground at the end of the day, 180 not out, feeling pretty good about myself.
Yes.
The whole of the whacker basically stayed until the end and clapped me off and raised my bat, walking around.
Bit of carry on.
Mild carry on. And anyway, I walk into the change rooms, and whenever you do well as a batsman, certainly in the West Australian change rooms, but also the Australian change rooms, is you know that the boys are going to get around you. Like they really, a few helmet taps, and they just get around you hard. So I've walked in the change rooms, walked through the door, and everyone's sort of like looking down at the ground, dead silence. And I was like, basically like ready to raise my bat again. And then they all just like start pissing themselves laughing and come in for a hug. And so they properly stitched me up with walking to the change. But that was very much Buff. He got it, and he was amazing.
Right, that's unreal.
Yeah, it's funny.
I mean, a lot of success there. That's sort of, through your test and up and downs. 2019 Ashes, you're in the Ashes squad. You don't play in the first 4 games. You play in the last game. You take 5 for. I assume that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
5 for. Get the ball, don't you? Keep the ball with 5 for.
Yep, still got the
Did
ball.
you raise the ball with 5?
Raised the ball with 5, yep.
Just a little bit of it.
Yeah. I did a lap, actually.
But after that test, it's infamous and it's been everywhere now. But now that I'm here face to face, I want to hear what you think of it. Most of Australia hate me was the quote that was out of. I think that's the direct quote.
Yep.
Is that? Do you sit here now and think that? I know a few things have happened that maybe I don't know. But what do you reflect on that coming out of your mouth? And I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was an interesting time. I sort of said that that question had been asked me for ages. Just why do you think Australia or the fans don't necessarily like you? And there's many reasons for that. They didn't actually dislike me as a person. They probably disliked the fact that I got a lot of opportunities without having a lot of good statistics behind me.
You had a lot of fans too.
Yeah, I did. And
To be fair.
I sort of said that quote, it was tongue-in-cheek, and I said it with a bit of a laugh, not realising that it would gain so many legs, and it was probably just the perfect quote for the day and the story behind me coming into that game. And I didn't necessarily ever feel that, but I certainly felt throughout my career, my test career, a lot of sort of perceived pressure from whether it's media, fans, and there was a lot of things that were really tough for me to handle in the spotlight whilst I was trying my best, and had this thing called Test cricket that I was just striving for and putting all of my time and effort in, and I just couldn't nail it. So to have all this outside pressure sort of flowing in, and my personality letting it in, which is the biggest lesson of it all, that was really tough to take. So it was a tongue-in-cheek comment that grew a lot of legs, but I guess it was a good story in the end.
I think it's also a bit of a Australian sort of sarcasm as well, which on an international stage, like England, maybe not so much England because they sort of get it as well, but they would be, because it's like I said, international, they would be thinking, well, he really thinks that Australia hates him. Whereas it's like a bit of a drive-by.
Yeah, there was a part of me that did think that, the Australian cricket fans, but I certainly don't feel that now, and it was, all a bit of fun.
What about off the back of that then? Again, I mean, you've been a player that has had ups and downs, not just selection, but you've had a lot of injuries through your career.
Yep.
I was walking down here this morning, actually, and my wife, Alex, who you know very well,
Yes.
the Lay family, she said, asked Mitch about breaking his back when he was young. She was like, I'm pretty sure he broke his back when he was a youngster. Did you?
I had stress fractures in my back
Yeah.
from bowling, so most fast bowlers.
Yeah.
And I say fast because I was fast.
Yes.
I
Fast
still am.
bowling cartel.
I still am fast.
140 or
Yeah, 145. I had stress fractures. Most bowlers would go through that in their career, but it's a long-term injury. It's sort of 6 to 9 months that it keeps you out of. And I had reasonably bad ones, so I was in a back brace for a few months, and just all the part and parcel of bowling fast, I guess. You wouldn't understand.
No, I wouldn't. I'm a full back, so it doesn't matter, mate. We just get the job done.
You play with broken backs.
Yeah, correct. So, injuries, selection, ups and downs of cricket publicly, whatever it is. Not that it leads to a crescendo, but it is a little bit what happens in the 2021 T20 World Cup, right? And so we fast forward to that. Justin Langer is the coach of the team now. And I might add, the last cricketer we had on this podcast was Justin Langer.
Yep.
Got a little bit of attention.
a few headlines.
We've spoken about it a bit on our other side of the pod, but like it's not really what we exist to do. Like especially the controversial nature. Like we love telling stories and having laughs, but I don't really have much interest in turning Mitch Marsh into the back page. So
I mean, unless you'd like to.
yeah. But
That's what you're after.
JL is your coach, right? And he's your World Cup winning coach, right? So I'm assuming you got fond memories of JL.
Yeah, certainly. Speaking on like all of the young Western Australians that are now in the Australian team, and a lot of the young West Australians, youngish Western Australians that are now creating something really special with West Australian cricket. JL started that for us. He was our coach for basically 10 years through it all. So he's watched a lot of us grow up, helped us a lot throughout our careers, and we've all got him to thank for being a big part of our career. So that's pretty much all I'll say, because as a headline,
Correct.
I can't. There's no headline there, so
They
that's
can't
that's
write. They
perfect.
can't what Will Schofield has to say about it. So, having said all those great things about JL, the T20 World Cup, the leading into it, you're on fire. You're killing it. Is that just the? You got me. Leading up into the World Cup, you're killing it. You put up the order a bit, making a lot of runs. Come into the World Cup. Did you get dropped after 3 games?
Yeah, I did actually.
Shout out JL. But you got dropped, right? So you're in the World Cup. That we know how it ends, and if you don't know how it ends well for Mitch Marsh. But
I'll get there, guys. Don't worry.
correct, it's like getting dropped. I'll tell a similar story about 2018 for me. 2018 career moment for me. I get dropped 3 weeks before the grand final, and then come in for your cousin. But what's that like as you look back on it with the success finish? But I'm assuming that would have been a low point. It would have rocked you a bit. Or
Yeah, it was probably the first time. I think as a certainly as a cricketer, but most other sports as well, you kind of know when you're going to get dropped. You know if you're not performing, or you know if someone's performing better than you in another role, that they're going to come in. So that was probably the first time in my career where I was actually shattered, because I just did not see it coming. I certainly understood the reasons. They brought Ashton Agar in as a matchup to have 2 spinners against England, and also Ash bats as well. So it allowed him to bat at 7 and strengthen the bowling a bit, because their batting's phenomenal. So I understood the reasons. I just was obviously shattered, and it was the World Cup. And the World Cup, the way it's run, it's really quick. So you get dropped 1 game, it's like, how am I getting back in here? So, but to be brutally honest with you, I actually was okay. I was upset that I wasn't playing, but I kind of think that everything that's happened throughout my career and my life, and all the lessons that I've learnt, I just accepted it. And I knew that if I got down in the dumps, then I wouldn't enjoy the rest of the World Cup. I wanted to be a good 12th man, which I've become bloody good at over the journey. And I was fine. I went to training the next day and got what I needed to do. And I kind of felt that I would come back in, so I didn't want to drop the ball completely. And it's totally fine to be angry and upset when you get dropped, just as long as you don't carry on like a muppet. So, I was fine, really, and ended up coming back in, which was bloody great.
well, I think I was texting you around that time, and I'm not the world's biggest cricket fan, am I, Dan?
No, quite the
I-
contrary.
Yeah, I don't. Well, anyway, there's a few things that irk me about the game, but I'm not going to get into it. But I watched you for that last period of that World Cup. I mean, you must look back on that, because I feel proud about the way you played, but you must look back at it as a having been through over a decade of in and out and injuries and ups and downs to do something on the biggest stage. You play in some great games coming into the final. You play in the World Cup final. 77, I think.
Yep.
Oh,
Is that
50.
right?
Yep.
Man of the match, Norm Smith medal. I don't know if you can do much more than that. You must be proud of it.
Yeah, it was by far the best day of my career to date. The build-up throughout that whole year stems back to April in New Zealand, where we played a T20 series, and I had a bit of a stinker. I was batting at number 7 and number 8 even at times. They were sort of just experimenting with a few different lineups, and I had a mare, and I had a really great conversation with our now coach, Andrew McDonald. He was just really honest with me about, he basically wanted me to learn to just go from ball one. So 6 months out from the World Cup final, I had a conversation with him, and I went away and worked on just literally going from ball one, not slogging from ball one, but if a ball's in my area, hitting it for 6 from ball one. And there's a lot that goes into that from a technical point of view and all that sort of stuff, but more so mentally.
Yeah.
Having the courage to walk out there and back my game to go, if that's there, I'm hitting it for 6. So I worked on that for 6 months. West Indies tour, Bangladesh tour was horrific, the worst wickets I've ever played on, so it cost me a bit of my strike rate. Then we get to the World Cup, and it all sort of comes together in a World Cup final where, that first ball sort of went for 6, and the juices were flowing. That I still get a bit emotional about it, because there's just been so much that has gone into a moment like that, and it rarely happens where you get to
Do it.
sort of achieve something like that. And it was just an incredible night.
So
night.
you tell me 6 months prior to that, you literally spoke about the thing that you did, which is hit the first 6, hit the ball at first, and then you hit the next 2 for 4.
Yep.
So you're sizzling.
Yeah, it was the juices were flowing. There's some good footage. I'm not sure it really does it justice, but I was obviously batting with Davey Warner, and I'm walking down the wicket, and I'm literally like punching his hand, like, come on, let's go. He was like, whoa, settle down, big boy. But I actually had to calm myself down a little bit, because you can really, if the juices start flowing, that's you try and hit every ball for 6, and more often than not you get out. So I had to sort of focus on my breathing a bit and make sure I was nice and calm. And then, the partnership with Davey really sort of sealed the game.
Not many people would know that chat that you have with Andrew McDonald. What's the conversation like after the game? Because I'm just thinking about it now. Like he must have been like did it.
Yeah, it was. He's certainly not the sort of guy that would take any credit for that. He just really got a really smart cricket brain. So he had always pushed for me to bat higher up the order. Don't really know why, but he was really big on that. So I've got a lot to thank him for just giving me the opportunity, but also him just making me feel like the team needed me. And at times in the Australian team, where you've got so many good players around you, someone else would get the job done or whatever. All his language was that the team needed me to perform, and he's really just found the way to get the best out and the most consistent me over the last few years. So I've got a lot to thank him for.
I think that's a good way to finish things off on our main chat, mate. It's, I got little goosebumps there. That was
That's good.
The only thing I will say is,
Yes.
and if the ICC are listening, I didn't get a man of the match medal. I got a little tiny trophy.
Is that
Right.
correct?
So
Should have you got a
you
medal?
guys got shit.
I'm just thinking.
Yeah,
the
guys got
last
shit.
time we chased
blazer.
something
A jacket.
down, right?
I want a World Cup Norm Smith medal.
Do they fashion the medal? I mean,
Yeah, we
they-
can't-
they-
we can't-
They do make all Australian jackets. Shep just hadn't been given his. Like, we can't go to the ICC and say.
Oh, I'm challenging.
So you want one forged. You would like a medal forged. Has there ever been one given before?
I don't think so.
Can we do this, Dan?
Sure. Yep. We just say yes to that sort of stuff.
I mean, I will say,
We'll try.
if we go and do this. I very much have the attitude with a lot of things. As my favourite saying growing up, where there's a will, there's a way, right? And I don't look at too many things and think I can't do it. So if you're serious about this and I get you a fucking Norm Smith
Yeah.
medal, what are you going to get in return? Because I feel like that's a big deal.
What would you like?
just think.
Dan wants you'd want something to do with the Aussie cricket team. You're a big cricket fan.
Oh, no, free t-shirt I'd be happy with.
Can you sort a free t-shirt for Dan?
Yes, I can.
Oh, baggy green. Oh, yeah, we want baggy greens.
You want a baggy green?
Yeah.
You want my baggy green or
No, just like go to
You want a Dan Conts baggy green? They don't
Yeah.
give them away, mate.
No, there'll be a factory where they make them. You get some generic ones.
We would like as a podcast, we would like a baggy green. It doesn't have to be. We would love a baggy green to put on our shelves. You can do whatever you like with that.
Yep.
It can be
Steal your
someone's-
dad's.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know which baggy green, but we'd love to have a baggy green in here.
Yeah.
If I get you a medal,
all right?
Yeah.
Deal?
That's
Done.
That's actually a good deal.
Done.
mate, seriously, I've got to get a fucking international organisation to forge a medal for something that's never happened before. He's just going to go grab his fucking baggy green out of his top drawer of his fucking bedroom. Now, we do finish on social media. Now, again, I know you're a big Bat Chat fan. This is why you're here. Not social media. You didn't mishear me. Social media, where the people ask you the questions. They've heard enough from Dan and I. We like to hand it over to the people. Bit of a Q&A session. Put the mic into the crowd. We just let them go.
All right.
All right, let's do it. T-Money.
I saw Mitch Marsh in Video Easy a few years ago. I was going to the new release section and watched him grab the last copy of Die Hard 4 that I wanted to watch. He had 9 other copies tucked under his arm. I asked if I could please have one, but he laughed in my face and said it was better after multiple viewings. Anyway, which is your favourite of the Die Hard series?
Is that true?
Pretty
Is that a true
mean.
story? What's going on there?
It might have been Sean. I think he's mistaken me for Sean.
Or Brad.
Yeah. Favourite Die Hard series? Die Hard Man?
We'll go with 4.
Okay.
Always loves it.
That's very good. Steve Govokoro.
Bison, in the test doco, you're proclaimed to be the best COD player in the Australian team setup. Who's the cricketer, local or otherwise, closest to taking your crown? Also, what's your gamer tag? Cheers.
A couple of great questions.
Yeah, so that is definitely self-proclaimed. I'm by far not the best. I'd say probably Starkey's the best.
Really?
Yeah.
Big COD player, especially bubble COD player. I was streaming Modern Warfare, Warzone. Yeah.
Really?
We should have actually known this and been playing against each other.
We could do that.
Okay.
We can organise
You still
that.
playing? I've had my wife hide my PlayStation.
Yeah.
I get a little bit addicted to it.
Yeah, I don't play at home. We'll just leave it at that. But I play a lot on tour.
Work long hours at work. Sorry, love the training.
They want us back at training for a couple extra hours. I don't know why.
He's got half days. Finishes at 12, gets home at 6 p.m. So Mitch Stark.
Yeah, he's gun.
Is he?
Yeah, puts a lot of hours in. We play COVID. Really, we couldn't leave the hotel.
You're better
at
COD
times
player.
couldn't.
Better COD players than you were cricket players.
Yeah, I put in a lot of hours to COD. Like, I'm talking, like
So,
at times it was like 50 hours a week.
Blimey.
mate, that would be unders for us. We had a group of us at West Coast. We went. We were allowed to leave if we had masks on, and we had like all these protocol, whatever was going on. It was a shit show. We weren't away as long as you, but it was like 12 weeks or something. And we went to a JB Hi-Fi. We did click and collect, so we didn't have to go into the store. And we all bought like high-speed portable modems.
Yep.
And like I'm talking, no lag, nothing, lock in. We would play during the day on a day off or any spare time whatsoever. Run down to dinner, barely speak, shovel food in, straight back up. And I know that's what you would have been doing the same.
Oh yeah, big time. Room service for me.
Wow, very good. I like that a lot. The Mad Hueys.
Game of Ricky Ponting 2005 on the PS2 between you and Sean. Who wins?
Sean can't bowl, so I smack him.
Great.
Hayden W _54.
So there's 1 over to go in the decider of the Ashes, and you require 1 wicket to win. Who do you throw the ball to?
Myself. Yeah. Good. I'm taking all glory.
What happens when you don't get the wicket, mate?
No, probably Paddy
drops.
Paddy Cummins, I reckon.
Paddy Cummins.
Paddy Cummins, for sure.
Would he just be sizzling York? What would he be bowling? What's the instructions in the last over when a wicket must be taken? Like, it's a little bit like 2 minutes to go in the grand final. You got to kick a goal straight down the guts. What's the have to be a wicket ball? Is it just line length? Surely not. It's a bit boring.
You just want them to have to hit the ball. Like you want the batsman to have to make a decision. So probably sneak 1 bouncer in there, falling straight at the stumps.
What's the bouncer for? Just like to get him a little bit.
Just to
Get him guessing.
get them guessing, get their
Yep.
feet mixed up.
Can you still bowl bouncers?
Yeah, I
you've
can,
Drop
yeah.
below 140.
Ball bounces.
Kernsey 494.
Who's the best off spinner you've played with, and why is it Adam Voges? What's the? Oh, that's another.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
another
question.
question. Yep.
Oh, so yep.
So that's
And
they've
why is
answered
it-
it for you.
Who's
Why-
the best
okay.
officer you've played with, and why is it Adam Voges?
Well, he threw it through his whole career, so that's probably why he was quite an accurate bowler.
Shout out, Adam.
Yeah.
Shaka.
So I often pulled him up. He always used to bowl with long sleeve shirts. So
Was he the
anyone-
out the
So
front
you
line?
can't see the bend in the elbow.
anyone who's bowling long sleeve shirts, skeptical.
Ashton Agar.
Right.
Big wearer of long slavers. That's I just flashed in my mind.
His is just a fashion sense.
Perfect.
Purely fashion sense.
Great. Mr. _ Bly the Bison. Feel like-
Is it better to A, score a duck and the team wins, or B, make 100, the team loses, and you get to say, fuck's sakes, boys, I did my bit?
100% 100 every day of the week.
No, you're lying. Jai _ Alice.
True or false, you smash balls from the nets at Wesley into the swimming pool during your time there. And I'm going to back it up with another one from Liam Bryers. Is it true you hit the roof at Wesley College, or bullshit? So swimming pool and roof.
Yes, the story has grown a lot of legs over the years. I did hit one up onto the roof at Rossiter Oval at my time at Wesley. But since having done that, it's now I hit one over the roof and it landed in the pool, which I am more than happy to go with. But I don't recall ever hitting one into the pool.
Very good. Now, Tyson Wright.
How do you feel about the nickname Bison?
And the story I cut you off from the very start.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, interesting story. You're like, no.
Yeah, I had to get the first question.
Yeah.
So let's revisit that.
Yeah, so the Bison. My first Australia A tour was to Zimbabwe, and Jason Gillespie was the coach. And for some reason, growing up, people always used to think that I had a really big head. I probably still do, but I've potentially grown into it a little bit more now. And so Dizzy just starts calling me Bison, and I hear Dizzy speak. He's like, "Hey, Bison, how are you, mate? Bison, big boy." And I was like 17 or 18, and I was like, "Don't call me Bison. Like, that's not cool." And eventually, just started catching on, and I was like, "Why have you started calling me Bison?" And apparently, on average, a bison's head weighs 200 kilos.
All right.
So it's completely stuck, and literally, it's been,
The reason it stuck was because he didn't like it.
yes, exactly.
Because
Not
that's how they stick.
Not because I have a 200 kilo head.
Oh, that's very good. 43 to go. Dewfish _2.
Does Brad Shepard still think he's good enough to pursue a career with the Scorchers? Wasn't there a bet of a car on a previous different podcast that he would play when he finished up football?
What's that?
Potentially.
He is an idiot.
I think
He is an idiot.
He's an idiot.
concussion protocols
Yeah, sadly,
May-
that's ruined his career.
may have stopped him from playing any other sport.
I
But
thought you meant thinking, being sensible.
no, he was fucked before he got concussed. So that's just made matters worse. But yeah, no, his career is over, and it's actually good because I don't have to listen to it anymore.
Good. Jordan Flynn.
What was your MySpace profile song?
I had many.
You change, you had a bit of a rotation.
Yeah, it was. My song changed as to what girl I was trying to impress. at the
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
I had everything. Just
Do you remember yours?
Yes.
What was it?
Bring Sally up, bring Sally down.
Nice.
And then it got copyrighted or something, and I never put one back on, and I never started my
Oh, shame.
What, you? You would have had something fucked.
No, it wasn't. It was a song called "Take Cover" by Acceptance.
That's what I meant. Like, what are you talking about?
What? It's just a song.
Sing it. I just sung mine.
I can't remember it. Let's go to the next one.
Last one, short for Decker.
Arm wrestles. Who wins between you and Sean the Sheep?
Sean the Sheep. It's
Sheep.
a kids. It's a kids.
Yes,
Shaun the Sheep.
yeah,
It's Shaun the Sheep.
yes, I understand. And what is life on a cricket tour actually like? All playing and training, or a good mix of talking in the local area as well? Taking in the local area as well.
Yeah, what was the first question?
Who wins between you and Sean? Arm wrestle?
Yeah, Sean's way stronger than me.
Is he?
Yeah. So Sean.
So
wins,
Sean, yep.
unfortunately.
Congrats.
Life as a cricketer has been a lot of fun. We get to travel the world, see some amazing places, meet some amazing people, eat some amazing food. All the countries we go to culturally all vastly different. So it's been a lot of fun over the journey.
Cool.
Good, mate. Done and dusted. A big thank you to our supporters, our sponsors, and a thanks to you, Mitch Marsh. Thanks, Bison. 200 kilo head. Bloody lot. Thanks for coming on, mate. Did you have fun?
I had fun. Thanks for having me, guys. It's
Good.
absolute pleasure.
We'll keep him on for a few minutes for Patreon as
will.
well.
You want to follow us on socials, backchat_, hello@backchatpodcast.com.au. Send us an email. Thanks to Whippersnapper, to Margaret River Roasting Co., Blue Bet Shelter, and of course our mates down at Leadable Cameras. VIP stuff for Patreon, which is where we're going right now.